This is a position reached in the very recent freestyle chess tournament in Paris by two grandmasters, namely Nepo and
Nodirbek Abdusadorov.
If I ask any of you who is winning in this position, I am willing to bet a lot of you would not know for sure, but probably say that it's an even position, maybe white has a slight advantage. Either way, it is definitely a game worth playing. But
Nodirbek
in this position decided to resign with the black pieces. I will admit I did not watch this game live and barely follow freestyle chess, so there might be an unrelated reason for why he decided to give up, but I still found his resignation very unsettling. As far as I know, chess is one of two sports that allow for resignation, the other being the fighting sports, of course, and Hearthstone, but we're not going to talk about that. I can absolutely understand tapping out when you're getting armbarred, but in chess, what is there to lose? I know what you're saying. Oh, so you're just against resigning? Absolutely not. I am in fact probably the biggest proponent of resigning. Remember, I'm a League player. FFing is literally in my blood. This is what my keyboard looks like. There's no one more in favor of surrendering than me, and I'm also French in real life. Like I'm telling you, I was literally born to give up. To answer the question, are chess players resigning too much? We must first look at why top players are allowed to resign in the first place. There are a few reasons, such as out of respect for the opponent, not waste everyone's time, or to rip out the band-aid, so to speak. But I think these all fall under the umbrella of chess is a deterministic game, and top players know when the game is lost. Let me know in the comments why you resign or don't resign your games. The answers I found online were kind of underwhelming, so I'd like to hear what you have to say. If I showed you this position, and tell you you are white and it is your turn, most of you will probably resign. I know I will, and probably a long time ago. Even if you are not at the top level, you can still follow the same logic and come to the conclusion that resigning lost positions is beneficial for both you and your opponent by saving everyone's time. But our threshold for what constitutes a lost position differs from each player, even within the same elo. Since I main AD carry, I have developed a strong urge to give up at the soonest inconvenience, very often resigning games where I'm only down a single pawn. I am aware this is not good practice, but that is the threshold for resigning games that League of Legends instilled within me. Another, perhaps saner player might only resign in the endgame when their only way to win would be for their opponent to disconnect the game. For that reason, I will never advocate for top players to never resign games. I would absolutely hate it if every game I watch has an extra 10 to 15 minutes of play, even if the outcome of the game was decided 20 moves ago. Especially when games can be quite long, and if I'm waiting for the next round and I see a board being occupied by a player who refuses to resign despite being down 2 rooks, I'm sure I will not be the only one to be annoyed. But I will argue that there are other benefits to resigning which are not logistics related. I want to preface this section by saying that what I'm about to discuss are not valid reasons to resign unclear positions. You should never resign positions you still have a reasonable chance of winning. That being said, I do think there exist some situations where surrendering actually does have its merits. Number 1, when you are saving energy for future games. I'm a believer that each person can only play at their peak performance for a limited amount of time per day. Fatigue, tilt, distractions, you name it, inevitably build up as you commit more and more time to any activity. It's definitely one of the reasons I choose to resign, albeit when I say it, it really just sounds like I'm coping. But in my eyes, the principle is sound. If you can only focus and play at your best for 2 hours, which admittedly is not a lot, but I fear my excessive consumption of shorts has ruined my ability to focus, would you rather spend an hour on a game where you fell for an opening trap and are essentially waiting to get checkmated, or a game you can actually learn something from? Number 2, and this is a bit personal, but playing lost positions and losing anyways is often more tilting than just resigning early. I'm sure you have all been there. Your opponent plays an opening you are not familiar with, which causes you to blunder and exchange very early. And since you do not know the theory and your opponent definitely does, you are also down on time. But it's early in your session and your mental is quite stable, so you play on. You proceed to play nothing but great or good moves with only a few inaccuracies for the rest of the game, but you lose anyways since your opponent did not blunder anything, and you are still down in exchange, and you just get checkmated. Now, in addition to losing 8 elo, which you have lost anyways if you resigned, you are tilted and lost approximately 15 minutes of your playtime. And since this game encouraged you to commit this variation of the opening to your memory, to not blunder in exchange like that again, this scenario will be avoided in the future. So your experience gained from this game might not even be used. This causes you to lose your next 3 games out of tilt and close the website entirely. I sincerely hope none of you are ever in this position, but I doubt I am the only one that has experienced this. And last but definitely not least, and the main reason for resigning, out of respect for your opponent. I believe this only applies at the top level, where both you and your opponent have expectations of each other. When my opponent online does not resign, even though I'm up 3 queens, I do not view it as disrespect. In fact, in positions where my opponent very much so still has a chance of winning, I would actually prefer they keep playing to practice the endgame portion of chess, or to improve at converting winning positions, or simply because I like playing interesting chess. But at the top level, this is different. As far as I'm concerned, there are no grandmasters who are known for never resigning, unlike a certain Vel'Koz main. Every game in the final knockout stage of the most recent freestyle tournament in Paris ended in resignation. Not a single person got checkmated. And at that level, your never resign philosophy would only end up annoying the audience at best and insulting your opponent at worst. That being said, since resigning is basically mandatory at the top, the question to be asked is not if they are resigning too much, but rather if they are resigning too early. I will take the stance that the current threshold for surrender is pretty healthy. It's obviously not perfect. There are some games standing out, like the ones I showed at the beginning. But I actually very much welcome these outliers since they add another layer of complexity to chess. I don't view resigning as a necessary evil to avoid wasting both the players' and spectators' time. I view it as a key aspect of the game we love, which stem from the fact that it is a deterministic game in the end. It's probably a topic and skill you have never even considered in a player to have, but I think knowing when to resign is such an interesting element of playing at the top level. When your audience, the competition, and the culture within the sports expects you to be able to resign lost positions, all of a sudden you are not able to ignore this aspect of the game by adopting the never resign strategy so popular in casual chess, and must commit some of your attention to knowing when the game is lost rather than fully focusing on winning. Of course, 99% of the time, grandmasters will resign correctly and with no effort whatsoever. In the Paris Grand Slam tournament, this position was the only one I found to be resigned in an even-ish position. While was short on time, the format had a 30-second increment, and it's by no means an easy draw, but I felt that this position definitely at least deserved an attempt. Feel free to try out this position. I have linked the Lichess board editor link. Let me know if you succeed in the comments, because I definitely did not. As small and nearly insignificant of an element of the game as it might be, I still find it fascinating that the nature of the game requires players to know when to resign, and it can have an impact on the outcome of some games. I doubt there are any current players who quote-unquote resign strategically, but I do believe that the surrender etiquette developed over the years has undoubtedly decided the outcome of numerous games in chess's long history. And who knows, perhaps in a world where top players were never allowed to resign, the current rankings would look very different. I'm sorry this one took a while. The chess addiction has gotten bad, unironically becoming kind of a problem. I've played 300 games in the last 7 days, like I'm literally the next Tyler 1. It's the only game I'm playing right now since I got tilted from a loss streak on League and uninstalled, and Path of Exile 2's new League got hotfix but still made me want to stop playing. There's also the Canadian elections soon, and I've been following it very closely. I plan on releasing a series about my chess goals and journey. In fact, this was supposed to be the first video of that series, but it's taking a lot longer than expected. For the near future, videos will have a focus on chess. I have decided that for my channel, with the occasional esports video essay type content. And as always, thank you for your support.